So the sales account executive, top dog, generally just could count on this rep quarter over quarter. All he did was use the intel play. He'd go into the partners and be like, I have this deal. All I need to know is everything you know about procurement. You could always count on his forecast 100% because he had all the answers to the test on procurement. That's why Nearbound is so fundamentally different than anything you've done before. This is just smart. I think the best place to start is with your accounts. When you're starting with your accounts, let's say you have 50, you have 100, you have 200, and you're like, hey, I'm hearing from sales leadership that we're supposed to be driving, let's say 1/3 of business through partner. That means that you're probably going to want to segment that 100 accounts by like finding the top third and then the first 3 to 5 to engage with. But what you're going to do is you're actually going to pull up your account list. And that's where you sort by partner overlap. For example, at the top of the list versus the bottom of the list. The top of the list is going to have the most partners who have your account as a customer. So that's the first place that you start. Start where there's the most opportunity to sit down, not just with yourself in that list, but your partner manager, right? So this is a tripartite meeting that I talk about. And you have the manager, you have the partner manager, and you have the sales rep. You sit down with that sorted list and you start with number one. Okay, there's 12 partners, right? Integrators, agencies, whatever, that list this account that is one of my target accounts as a customer. Now, then you go a little bit deeper into that next thing when you go, okay, so 2 of these have closed this account as a new customer in the last 2 months. Might there be some business initiative that happened that generated a purchase? And then even then you're like, okay, there's 2, which one should I start with and what play should I run? The first thing you might look at after you notice that overlap is, okay, what personas are they aligned to? What personas are we aligned to? Let's say you sell into marketing, but you need often buy-in from ops. So you see that one partner has marketing contacts and you generally have marketing personas, but then the other one has marketing and ops. So then what you can do then is you're actually going to probably run some intel play. And then I talk a little bit more about the 3 I's of Nearbound Sales: intel, influence, and intro. But that's the stage where you go account by account and build out, here's the top third. You need to be able to run these against your entire Nearbound account list. But just to start, that's how you can go from, okay, where's the best overlap? What's the most relevant kind of recent customer or buying signal or intent? And then what personas do they have where there might be some more information that I could then influence to get into or get an intro or gather. But that's the simplest, easiest place to start. So API, assume positive intent. I think there's 2 ways to think about this. There's something coming at you from the partner side. So, a partner manager that may be trying to surface, let's say, a growing strategic partnership, and maybe you want to align on a 3x5 strategy. A 3x5 is, let's say, 5 of your customers who are like my top prospects or ops, and then 5 the other way around, 5 of my customers that are your top prospects or ops, and then maybe 5 net new pursuits. Like coming into that meeting, assuming positive intent is like, there's mutual benefit to that structure, and to not think of it as, hey, I'm coming in as like, I have to go give something before I ever do anything. Oftentimes there's this wall that goes up around how you're approaching working with partners. Like, hey, is this going to screw up my target account that I have to break into and win? I think even when I wrote the guide with Kevin, I think the market was even, let's say, more apprehensive than it is now. Like right now today though, I don't see that as much of a problem, provided that it's not on a stage 4 opportunity that's baked, ready to sign, seal, deliver, where before I used to see reps that would be like, that's a target account, I don't want a partner attached to it. And so you haven't even met with them. What are you talking about? How could you say that? You have no in this account. I'll find one. Now I don't think reps are saying that as much. Doing an intel play where you're trying to gather intel from a partner, it is very unwise to not show up to that call with intel about what you already know. So for example, something as simple as a value hypothesis. So why are you trying to target this account? Obviously you have a product. Obviously it's your target account, but what about them is coming across? And that could be everything from a little bit of research on the website or like how you've helped other customers. But the point is there needs to be some value hypothesis that's specific, let's say personalized to the contact/account in question. That's just called Sales 101, especially Sales 101 in 2023, because the first rule of sales is nobody cares about your product, right? Second rule of sales is target account, sell to people, right? People buy, not companies. But the point is you have to bring that level of detail to some degree. right? That's personalized to that company. And then the next thing you're going to want to bring is any context that you have about that account or the people as a whole. For example, let's say that account has never visited your website. There's never been any interaction in the CRM. It's okay, here's 100 cold emails that we've sent them and not a single thing is ever converted into even a page visit. Probably shouldn't try to bring that to a partner. In fact, you're probably going to have a hard time with that account in general. There's no intel that you have on them whatsoever. But that's not the way that most of these things work in B2B. You're going to have this account's visited your website. You're using a Clearbit or a Demand Base or a 6sense or some de-anonymizer. Like they've converted on a few things. They've opened some marketing emails, not just sales emails. They've read something and you're going to triangulate that information like, hey, I've seen a surge of people on the site coming from this account. This is what I'm targeting this person about. I've had a couple back and forth conversations, but I haven't been able to move, for example, to the first real meeting and demo. This is the information that I have. I saw that you closed this account 2 months ago, and I'm curious, am I aligning to the right business initiative of why they move forward with you? What a specific ask. And that's make it easy for people to help you. That's the whole point of bringing sellers into this. There's good ways to do this and there's terrible ways to do this. The great ways to do this is make it as easy as possible for someone to help you. Be helpable. Selling has always been a team sport in B2B. It's always been a team sport. And anyone that doesn't think that it's been a team sport has been in a position where they've had a marketing team feeding them direct demand, one call close. Like that just isn't an environment that the world lives in anymore. If you think about the world's greatest ecosystems like Microsoft to at the top of the enterprise and channel IT world to a HubSpot that's at the forefront of SMB, the reality is that it's baked into the fabric of every sale, every deal, whether that's an integration or an IT service provider or a marketing agency or a sales consultant or whatever it is. There is this worldview that the customer is at the center of the conversation, but what matters to them is what matters to me. So for example, if they're using different technology providers that are, let's say, core to their use case, a good salesperson needs no other trait than to be curious, right? So for example, someone says like, oh yeah, we use X, Y, and Z tools in this way. Guess what you can do? You can just mirror back X, Y, and Z tools, upward inflection in voice, and find out maybe one of those is really critical. And then all of a sudden they start peeling back the layers and they say how actually Z is a new implementation. It's a giant bet. We're putting all of our eggs in this basket and now we're all in on this strategy. Come to find out that's one of your partners that your partner manager can get you in touch with to really unpack that and align to that business initiative. That is how you should be thinking about surrounding the customer, is that you're trying to understand them in conversation to pull people into the convo. And then you're trying to understand who's around them before you have a convo to, let's say, get more intelligence or demonstrate some influence or get into another division. Great sales is predicated around surrounding your customer with the people they already know and trust. And all you have to do is be curious to operate that way. Great call prep whenever you're planning to engage in a nearbound sales motion where you're actually bringing the partner yourself to a conversation with the customer, right? So you have this partner relationship where there should presumably some high degree of trust. You have this end customer relationship that has more proximity to your partner than they do you. Whether or not that call goes well certainly has everything to do with call prep. And in that call prep, what you're trying to do is you're actually not trying to uncover all of the things. You're trying to come to some clarity and some focus for that conversation. For example, there is this moment in all great deals. It's like this black swan moment. It's a piece of information that will affect the outcome of a deal that no party is necessarily aware of until some inflection point. That's what that call prep is. And right, that's where you get into these different things in the guide around partner account reviews or opportunity reviews, where what's shared in that convo and what comes out of that convo dictates what happens next. So for example, you might have the reason why this customer bought from your partner. You have a value hypothesis. You need to get crystal clear on the joint value hypothesis. And a joint value hypothesis is not just, hey, product A and product B equals product C, that C squared, right? It's somewhat better than just the sum of the parts. No, what I mean by a joint value proposition in that call prep is the joint value proposition that's specific to that account, right? Why is this partner here advocating for this? And it demonstrates that it's a good move for the partner. What is in it for the end customer? And why does everybody win? And I can give you a great example of this anecdotally from what I've seen in the past, which is how much is this partner person going to advocate for you? This is why the joint value proposition needs to be for everybody. The framing of how they set up this call is very important. Hey, just here for this quick sync. I know you were evaluating this other software vendor that we happen to have an integration with. I'll let you all take it from here. It's not the most confident endorsement I've seen of bringing a partner into a conversation. So that call prep is where you're gonna give them the confidence to be like, hey, Jane, how you doing? I'm so happy to put you here with our top partner, this and this. And I'm excited to talk to you about what we just talked about yesterday, because I think you're gonna see the aha moment the same way that I did. So that's that joint value proposition and covering that black swan. Let's take Drift and Marketo, for example. I would run these calls the same way most of the time, whether it was a CSM, an AM, or even an SC, a solutions consultant. And I would go, look, I think that I know where your customer's at based on what I can see in their Marketo account. And they're trying to set up, let's say, more segmentation and more personalization. And those things are in motion right now. Is that correct, CSM? Yes, great. So their list and segmentation strategy, it's already off to the races. Certainly you could improve it. It would do better, but that's nothing that I'm going to affect, right? Yes, that's the case. What I heard from a problem from you, though, in our last call is that the best converting lists have the least amount of contacts, right? So it's like, hey, the top of funnel stuff is doing okay, but the bottom of the funnel stuff's not. Is that right? Yes. Okay, so what if we can put more contacts into that list that helps them convert better? It's going to put it into the top and to the bottom. Is that going to help your customer? Is that going to, yes. So how do we get more contacts? Okay, here's from the chatbot and the website and why. And then that's going to help you drive this utilization and upsell because it's actually more contacts in the database. By the way, that's why I'm your number one partner. Then that rep is, oh yeah, actually Susie last week, we helped her close an 80K upsell on one of her accounts just by connecting this in and pulling off the same strategy. I think I know exactly why I'm here. Are you clear on why we're going to go have this call? Yeah, this sounds amazing. Okay, fantastic, great. Boom. Then in the next call, she's showing up being like, I got to get this partner in here because here's how I'm going to drive an upsell, for example. And that's just off the top of the dome. There's so many different ways to like make sure that conversation goes well. Just the point is get to the thing, the aha moment. That's your job. It's the difference between getting an inbound pass half court, being guarded by 5 people, 5-on-1, versus a breakaway and an alley-oop. Like you want your partner to just be like pop, and then you come up and slam dunk it because you have that kind of prep. Now, that's the objective, right? So how you get there can be different, but get to that aha moment and help your partner serve up alley-oops, and you're going to be in a much better place to slam it home. I think they are sequential: intel, influence, and intro. So like that order, it is typically important. Now, that's not to say that you can't do intros. I would just say in terms of level of maturity and like the nuance, gathering intel is the no-brainer. Here's a great example. One of my least friendly partner reps, so is the sales account executive, top dog, generally just could count on this rep quarter over quarter, and a professional too. I had a lot of respect for him and how he'd execute his sales, minus you're way too protective of not letting anyone else touch this account and help you. And all he did was use the intel play. That's it. What would he do? He'd go into the partners and be like, I have this deal. All I need to know is everything you know about procurement. And you know what? Just that, you could always count on his forecast 100%. The most accurate forecast you'd ever see. Why? Because he had all the answers to the test on procurement when he was an enterprise rep selling big deals. So he got the answers to the test every time. And is that a partner deal? Did they refer me in? No, but you got the answers to the test. That's why Nearbound is so fundamentally different than anything you've done before. This is just smart. And then you're like the influence play. Last day of the quarter, big deal everyone's counting on. CMO is a little bit ghosty. It's like, we never really talked to the CMO. We got through procurement, but it's like end of the day, she's the signer, right? She's the budget holder. Authority goes up to her to sign and can't get to her. And we're like, shoot, 4 p.m. What are we going to do? Like, we got a couple partner relationships that I know for a fact know the CMO. Let's run an influence play. So all that it was getting that partner on the phone, doing a quick prep call with our rep and being like, this is why we need some influence to tell that CMO to check her email. Turns out she was on vacation. She's on a freaking yacht in the Bahamas, was never going to open that email. Never. Text message from the partner says, hey, I've been really leaning into this partnership with X. I know that you're on vacation right now, but they got an order form in front of you that my team is relying on for starting next quarter, and the offer's great. Everything's been approved on your side. I'm sure you have a couple emails from your team saying this is good to go. Could you do me a favor? Deal signed. That's the influence play, right? Like you're using someone to influence to take an action they otherwise wouldn't have. That's not to say that deal closed 100% because of this person, but can you discount the fact that deal was either going to close or not close? Like it's important. That's another layer of sophistication. Intros are not just referrals by another name, right? Referrals are a separate class altogether. You're getting referrals, congratulations, you did nothing for it. So in sales, referrals are like this magic, they're bluebirds, they happen to you. There's nothing you can do to get those referrals except for maybe give referrals first. But as a seller, that's not your job. Like partner people, great, go give. Sellers, you got a number to hit. So what is an intro play? An intro play is sharing intel and sharing influence that you have and giving context is a really solid case as to why this other person needs to take a meeting with you. And then the easiest thing to do for them is to write the intro email for them. And at this stage in my career, it's not a lie that I probably spend 50% of my time writing emails for other people. And that's the intro play, right? It's like I don't break into people by going direct to people anymore. Very rarely. What I'm typically doing is I'm making it extremely easy for other people to make that introduction. And that's kind of like the sophisticated levels. You need to have a little bit further along and a little bit more context to have that transference of trust for this other person to risk their reputation by introducing you. And then you have to make it easy and write a no-brainer email. And that's a skill that needs to be polished. But man, when you get good at it, you can get a meeting with anyone. So I think these are some pretty table stakes things. Whenever you're a seller and you're just getting engaged in this nearbound motion of, let's say, leveraging partners or working with partners, you need to understand where you did well and where you didn't. Or for example, being able and willing to have hard conversations when in fact, maybe your partner manager didn't have a pulse on the relationship with the partner like they should have. And that very much is the case. But instead of being like partner manager bad, don't care, great teams are made whenever they have hard conversations and they ship real feedback. And that feedback needs to go all directions. So what does that mean? Whenever you look, I don't think that this partner really understood why we were here in the first place. So good job booking the call, but what are we doing to make sure that each time a rep comes up into one of these calls that they have some context of, oh, this is an important partner to us. What could have I done better? What could have you done better? So having that mindset of iterating and doing those kind of reviews and shipping that feedback, but then also being curious about where, for example, you're like, hey, I came in pretty aggressive with that ask and I could tell it put him back. How might that ask, because I still needed to get that ask in, be better next time? So doing those reviews with your partner people that you work with and your, let's say, manager or vice versa, simple table stakes. Like these are where great teams are built. Work together, have hard conversations, share honest feedback, and be curious on how to nail this motion. Because again, it is the long-term perpetual motion machine and flywheel of consistent intel and influence and intros that you can get that are baked into your company's database already, right? You do cold calling and cold emailing stops the second that you stop. The nearbound influence is there perpetually and it continues to grow as long as your company's ecosystem continues to grow. All that you need to take a look at are some basic things like when there is a nearbound account that I am working, where did that fall off? What happened next? So there is some basic visibility, for example, of, hey, I've identified my top 30 accounts that have partner overlap. Where's that stuck? Is that stuck between my partner manager and a partner manager? Is it stuck between me and another AE and me and another CSM? Or, oh shoot, I was supposed to get this follow-up to this person here or here. Make sure that you're not dropping things at just like the basic level of knowing where things sit. So as you're going through this motion and you're seeing, hey, my top partners, for example, right, where you have the most overlap and you have a promising sign or a win, be curious about going one layer deeper with the ones where you have some positive signs, and then be willing to have hard conversations and ship feedback with those partners and those accounts where it didn't seem like it really matched up. And being able to bifurcate that and go, these are my investment partners, these are my fix it or get away partners. And your investment partners, what are you going to do? You're going to try to prod for more, and you're going to try to help or give a little bit more. Some of my most successful partner sales reps, or reps that have attached partners to sales, what they end up doing is, for example, pulling up, let's say, manager or director and trying to align on territories. Man, I have been crushing every single sell I do with this partner. Been developing a great relationship with this AE over here, but our patches are rough, like in, out. I'd really like to align my territory with their territory. And maybe you can do an account refresh every quarter. right? You could take out of your 200 accounts, you could swap out 50, right? Or out of your 100 accounts, you could swap out 25. Like, man, like sales is the predictable revenue, predictable. So if you got something that's a little bit more predictable than otherwise you would have had, follow that thread. And I've absolutely seen this where it's, hey, we adjusted the patch just slightly to make sure that we had 2 reps that shared 20 accounts. Because whenever we paired them up, they were great. It was like 20 of the ones that we just closed and then 20 of the ones there. And that little slice and dice made a region and a territory that was previously underperforming top post in the US. So yeah, carve it up, be curious, ship hard feedback where you need to, and then double down and invest, and even do that from an account planning standpoint, because you can advocate for yourself as an AE. If you found a thread, try to get some of your patch shared with the partners you crush it with.